Hey everyone, welcome to Hobby Hearth ASMR. This is just hanging out and working on hobby projects together, gaming together, and relaxing and having a good time. I'm excited this week because I just got some new stuff for my Age of Sigmar Warhammer army. Some new releases for the Idoneth Deepkin. These just came out. There are a couple of new models. These are brand new for the faction. We have the manifestations. Them together. I think I'm probably going to pick one. I haven't decided which one yet. We have the manifestations, which is this cool wave monster. It's breaking up a ship, and it's got two tendrils that can also come up and grab things. Some little closer up bits here on the back. The Idoneth Deepkin faction terrain, the sunken ship, is actually a sunken Sigmar Stormcast ship. So I'm wondering if there's going to be any little details like that on here. Any little Easter eggy type things like that, but one way to find out. So there's the manifestations. And then I got two of the new models. There's this one here. It's the Icon of the Sea, but it could be built two ways. It can either be built as Icon of the Sea or Icon of the Storm. So there's two different ways to build it, either with the dual swords or the one longer two-handed sword. I haven't decided which one I want to do yet. I have to take a look at the stats. I haven't even opened up my new battle tome yet to see like what the stats are and kind of how I want to build them. So we'll see on that one. And then we have Mathaela, Oracle of the Abyss. She's the new caster. She's got some eels on her base there. And I don't think she has any alternate builds. There might be some slight variations that you can do with her, but I don't think she has any alternate stats that go with that. I think it's just creative, like visual. And to go along with all of those, there's of course the new battle tome. I have not even cracked that. We're unboxing all of this together tonight. So let's take a look here. Come on. Do I have to fillet you like an actual fish? Come on. So in here, in the back of that, there'll be a code for me to be able to view all those stats in the Warhammer app so I can make some decisions on that. I think, is that supposed to be her? Maybe not. Oh, maybe. That's got the very... Let me take the plastic off of her too so that I don't have to worry about the glare quite so much on the lights. Get that back in focus here. There we go. That's better. do think, put that safely out of reach there. I do think that that's supposed to be, this is going to be quite the time here. Look at the Leviathan there, the big turtle. Got some thralls, some eel riders. So, oh, there's a map pullout. Oh no, not a map. What kind of a map? It gets into looks like some of the different. Oh, hang on, keeps going. Where the different clans live. Okay. That's new. That was not in the previous edition. That's really neat. This is not a drawing. This is actually models. Some more lore here. Okay, this is introducing the new icons. Those are new, not just new models for existing characters, but these are actually completely new characters. So I'm going to have to read through more of that later. Got Megalodon tooth here. So the Acalians and the Isharan are the sort of full members of the Idoneth, whereas the Namarti are the ones that don't quite have full souls, dealing with the affliction that was mentioned earlier. Here she goes. And Lotan got a big buff in this edition, so I'm looking forward to playing with the new version of him. Yep, that picture from the cover, that is her. That's awesome. Now let's see, do they have? Oh, you don't get to take a look at that. Okay, yeah, there we go. All the heroic traits, the manifestation lores. Let's see, I think we're probably going to end up doing the storm. I'm not entirely sure. So I do think for tonight, especially since she's the one on the cover, I think she's the one that we're going to build. So let's get her opened up. Can we get in focus? There we go. Yep. Okay, we've got her base there. Looks like 40 millimeter maybe. Single sprue. And her instructions. And her cloak. And there's 2 pieces to her staff here. And then separately here, we put the two pieces of her head together and attach that. And then it's assembling the bits of the eels for her base that hold her up. Okay. So let's see, what's the first two pieces we need? We need piece 1 and piece 2. Get my clippers here. Let's see. Here's piece 1. Trying to get this as close as I can to the edge. Trying to get it as clean as I can so that there's not too much cleanup to do. There's always going to be some though. And looks like this is 2. The other half of the cloak there. There's 3 points on that one. And everyone has their own process when they do this. Some people cut everything out, then clean everything up, and then glue everything together. Some people sort of cut out and clean up as they go and assemble bit by bit. For a model like this, where there's not a ton of parts and it's not going to be real confusing what goes where, I feel like either way works. But for me, if it's a really big model, or particularly like vehicles where things can get a little muddy, or certain armies where all the bits start to look the same, I start getting confused after a while. Or like I know some people who will cut out all the bits from all of the sprues for an entire unit, like a whole batch of Necron warriors, and then sort them all out and put them all together. And if that works for you, more power to you. That does not work for me. I would go cross-eyed. And the same goes even just for the tools. For some people, this would make them nuts. Some folks prefer using a hobby knife. I tend to find that I end up taking up too much when I use a hobby knife. Unless I'm trying to get into an area that's smaller. You know, where that is too much of a tight fit. I'm also extremely clumsy. And frankly, if I manage to cut myself with this, something's really wrong. Okay, Let's see how these bits fit before we stick the glue in there. Because elves are fiddly. I don't care if it's Idoneth, Lumineth, Drukhari, Eldari. They're all fiddly. And they only fit but a certain way. And if you haven't cleaned it up well enough, it'll tell you. Okay. Now you can obviously use super glue. Some people prefer it. I am not one of those people. And these videos are super not tutorials. I am not an expert in any of this. I'm just someone who enjoys doing it. This is how I relax. Because if I'm doing this, my brain and my hands are both occupied. I'm not doom scrolling. I'm not messing with other things. So you might be sitting there going, oh, there's a better way to do that. Sure. Feel free to tell me in a constructive way if there's a better way to do something that I'm doing. Keyword being constructive. We're here to have a relaxing hobby chill time together. But at no point am I claiming to be an expert in any of this. These are games. They're supposed to be fun. I'm not going to sit here and stress. Like, not to get all Bob Ross about it. But you know what? Sometimes you need a happy little tree. And if the thing that is supposed to be fun is not fun, take a breather. Step away for a minute. Not everything has to be just so. And this is one of those times where, because of where this little nubbin is, I'm afraid of cutting off. I'm afraid of putting too much pressure and having the knife slip and hit the arm and taking off something that I don't want to take off. I'm just trying to be careful there. And the same up here. These real spindly staves. Like, there's no structure to this. So I'm just trying to sort of... Now watch, I'll find out that this is a bit that I should not have taken off. I've definitely done that before. I've definitely taken off a thing that I thought was just an extraneous piece of sprue, and then found out later that that was a piece that I needed to help another part sit on correctly. And then had a heck of a time later trying to get it to attach to whatever it was. Oops. This little bit. Yeah, come back. Okay, this mirrors this bit right there. Now, do you actually sit flush? Yeah, looks like you do. Okay. Great. Are you fully lined up? Looks like... It almost kind of seems like there should be something in there. Maybe after this is assembled, let's see if I can fit a little bead or something in there. Okay, now 1 and 2 go into 3, so hopefully now that's dry enough. I can get... Yes, that is 3. I wanted to give that time to... Well, that's her foot. All right. There's certain things where I don't worry so much about mold lines. My 40k army is orcs. So for a lot of their armor and stuff, the mold lines are kind of negligible. Because they just sort of land where, you know, the armor would naturally have a seam. So I don't stress that too much. But I cannot deal with mold lines on muscles and organic body parts where, you know, it would make absolutely no sense for there to be a line there. So those are the ones that I fuss over a little more. And also when you're building a horde army and you're, putting together 50 of the things, after a while you are less concerned about a line here or there, to be completely frank. Especially, the gaming group that I'm in, we have what we refer to as the 3-foot rule. Are you going to notice it from 3 feet away? No, maybe don't worry about it quite so much. Especially not on one little duder that is standing in a crowd of 19 other little duders. Because there's a lot of these things that it's there and it's going to bother you, but literally nobody else is going to notice. So it's all about perspective with these things. And that kind of took a while to sink in. I can be a little bit of a perfectionist sometimes. And by all means, if at the end, you're painting or putting these little guys together for you. So if that's going to make you happy, but again, make you happy, not stress you out, not make you crazy. Okay. We're going to let that dry and set. In the meantime, we're going to put her head together. So parts 6 and 7. Yeah, there she goes. I'm going to hold on to that tiny little piece so it doesn't go flying. Because that's never happened before. Yes, it has. It has very much happened before. And this big, elaborate headpiece here. That's kind of the most secure point, so I'm going to leave that for last. Detach all the ribbons first. Yep, we're down to that being the last one. I enjoy all the textures on these models. They make them a lot of fun to paint, especially if you enjoy the speed paints or the contrast paints. Ooh, all right, this is going to be, how am I going to hold? Come on, Games Workshop, we did not think of this one. here. I really do not. Okay, that's better. Okay. I'm doing surgery on this thing. Okay. And now, how close did I manage to get on this? Nope, not at all. All right. Take the plastic, not your thumb. Take the plastic, not your thumb. And of course, with this being the face, I want to be extra careful. Like if you mess up a little piece of the cloak on the back or something, no, get away with nobody looking at that. I'd like to not mess up the face. I would really prefer that. That's another advantage with orcs. Oh, you messed it up? Hey, battle damage. Paint job didn't come out the way you wanted it? Yeah, what do you expect? It was painted by an orc. Again, especially on the vehicles. That's as close as I dare to get with that. I think I'm going to try sanding. Sanding that down. That last little bit. Instead of there we go. Okay. And okay, yes, there is a peg there. And there is a hole designed to fit that peg on the back there. So that fits. It's supposed to fit. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to hold it like that until it dries. Okay, it's not the end of the world. Okay, that actually sat pretty well there. Just going to have to hold that for a moment. And then that's going to sit. Yeah, there's a spot where that fits on. Can I get away with setting that down? Yes, okay. So first, okay, nope, that foot points that way. That's your back. How does that notch fit in there? Did I not clean that up well enough? I might not have. I don't think I did. I think I need to clean that a little better before you'll fit correctly. Yeah, let's. Clean that up a little better. Or do you need that notch? Did I just clean off something that I needed? No, that's flat. Okay. Great time to ask after I did it. Okay. Let's try again. Your foot goes that way. And she's tilted pretty far forward. Lady, how do you fit? 'Cause your body is very strange to me right now. Oh, okay, it's twisted. All right. Fits like that. That's why. Okay, let me just hold that for a minute. Longer than that. Come on, Mathaela. Need you to literally hold it together. Okay. I still don't want to put you down. Let's see what the next steps are. Oh, there's another page in between those two. Come on. There we go. Okay, we needed to take a slight pause there to let some things dry. We needed to take a slight pause there to let things dry and set. And while we were doing that, we made what are hopefully some improvements to camera setup, some lighting, some sound. So hopefully the quality of this video will be improved from here on out. So thank you for your patience with that. So I did also notice while I was progressing here that I hadn't cleaned up some of these bits quite as well as I would have liked. So we're going to fix that. see. Actually, I think I want to switch to a hobby knife here. Hold on. I think I said it before, but on things where, you know, like armor and machines, vehicles, where a seam is not the end of the world, or a seam would even be realistic. Don't mind it so much, but on organic bodies, makes me a little nuts. Sometimes I guess you can play it off as a scar, depending on how big the piece is or what shape it is, or where it is. Most of the times, not really. Okay, that's better. Okay, now I think we can put your head on. Now does this, I feel like that tendril there is supposed to connect somehow. Yeah, I think that connects to, oh goodness. Remember what I said about elves being fiddly? Okay, so that connects to that part of the headdress, and then that connects to the spear. Okay. I think I'm going to put the glue on the back of the head. First, and then I can get the glue in those other places here. This. Is connecting here. Goodness, that was a pain. I think that's one of those bits that I trimmed a little too closely. I'll have to fill that in with a little bit of sprue goo. Goodness, that was frustrating. Clean that up a little bit. That'll be easier to clean up too now that that's attached and is a little more sturdy. All right, we finally got her all in one piece. Now let's get her little eel buddies and the little plinth that they're standing on put together. So let's put you to the side for the moment. And let's see. Okay, we need 8, 9, and 10. Let's see. Okay, 8. We have an eel head and like part of the plinth here. The plinth itself. Get a little closer. There we go. Nine. Which one of you? Okay, this big piece here is 10. That doesn't seem to match up with what it says is 10. That seems bigger. That looks like one piece of eel is 10. Ooh, that one looks like a monkfish or anglerfish kind of thing. That's neat. Anyway. All right. It's going to be hard to get close to that. This one on his back here. Get under there. Yeah, that's everything. Okay. Nope, gonna have to scrape that off. I think I'm gonna need you for the little sprue nib, but then look at the mold line with the hobby knife. And see, this is one of those places where I wouldn't really mind the mold line hanging out because it follows the line of the eel's spine, and a lot of fish in real life have that. So if I missed cleaning that up, it wouldn't bother me so much. But now that I've started cleaning it up, I need to finish it because having it start and stop is not going to look right. So the sculpt stops right around there. So we'll get the rest of that. Sometimes when there's a sizable piece of sprue, it's worth it to clip it off. Sometimes it's just tricky to get in on a good angle, especially when the miniature is rounded. Kind of no matter which angle you pick, it's going to leave a piece. Not like when you're going up against a flat. See, like here too, like I got a decent angle going this way, but then it's all this way. So when it's an organic form, There's no perfect angle for these things. It's not going to be flat. You're always going to have some sprue bit. On top of his head. And you definitely have some anglerfish style little dangler there. It's funny, when I picked this army to play, I knew absolutely nothing about them. I just saw the sea creatures and decided, yep, that's the one I'm doing. I've done a lot of work in marine biology. So especially when I saw Lotan with his octopus buddy. I was like, okay, yep. Because at the end of the day, like, something could be a really effective faction, but I'm going to spend a lot of time assembling and painting these things, and if that part's not fun, then I'm not going to want to do it. Okay, so 8 and 9. Yeah, okay, so 8 is the other half of your jaw. And then the top. Okay, that's the top of that. There we go. Let's get that little nub in there. And it turns out that they're actually a fairly strong army, at least in the current edition. But they're not an easy army to play. There's a lot of strategy involved, a lot of combos and that sort of thing. And as you might expect with elves, they're not terribly robust. They're pretty fragile, not a lot of hit points, that sort of thing. And I feel like that's pretty consistent across most games. Elves are not real beefy. I feel like at some point I'm going to invent a game just to make elves be like the tanks. I don't know how. Magically, somehow, maybe, I don't know. Just to be completely counterintuitive to everything. Because why not? It's all made up fantasy anyway. Who says elves can't be tanky? Now this is the bottom of the plinth that no one is ever going to see, but it's also the piece that's going to attach to the base. So I want to make sure it's actually attaching smoothly and securely. Otherwise, normally I wouldn't put a whole lot of effort into cleaning up something that you're not going to see. But when it's an attachment point, that does matter. Okay. Okay, so you fit into the other half of your face, like that. Okay. There we go. And I usually try to press in fairly tight so you're not seeing seams. Again, especially on something living. But fish are one of those weird ones. You can actually, on some of them, see. I mean, not quite a seam like this, but fish jaws are actually two halves for the most part. And on some of them, the skin underneath is so thin you can actually see where their jaws are. Plus, considering the fact that this is about to be stuck onto a plinth, I don't think you're ever really going to see that. So as long as it's adhered well, I'm not overly stressed about a visible seam. Probably give it just a little more glue. Make sure that it's stuck well. And then this. Yeah, because then that becomes part of that. And then that. Let's see here. Okay, then on here we've got these two halves of fish. I think this guy is an extra, he kind of boops onto the bottom. So I might not glue him down to the base just yet, because it'll make painting and basing a little easier. Let me take a look at the are you structural? Is it attached to his head? Well, I guess we'll find out. But let's, oh yeah, nope, he is part of this whole structure here. So let's put 11 and 13 first. We're almost done here. Oop, I've got some bits of spruce stuck on there. A little on your tail. That's a really big block of sprue attached to a not so big part of fish jaw there. Oh, I should probably attach this before I worry about these little nubbins here. Let's, whoop, hang on, no, don't want to cut that. Let's put that aside for a second and finish that. That's not quite sitting right. Is there a piece here I didn't clean up? Maybe I cleaned it up too well. Because that happens sometimes too. Like, I've definitely... Oh yeah, no, that's what I did. I just cleaned up too much off that bottom piece. No, that's all right. It's probably too small for you to see, but cleaned up a little too much off that trim. That's okay. I feel like this is supposed to be kind of like an ancient undersea thing, so if a little bit of it's cracked and crumbling, I feel like that's all right. And our last little, yeah, something like an anglerfish or a stargazer. More like a stargazer because he's got those little feet on the side. So you might have heard of an anglerfish, especially if you ever watched Finding Nemo. And a stargazer is similar in shape in that it's kind of that roundish body. But they have venomous spines and are electric. So you definitely don't want to step on those. They call them stargazers because they will bury themselves in the sand except for the eyes on the top of their head, which do look straight up, which is where they get the name stargazer. And they do have that big gaping mouth. They're ambush predators, which is very fitting for Idoneth, actually. They will kind of shimmy down into the sand, wait for something to swim by, and then when they open that big mouth, the vacuum it creates just kind of sucks the prey in. Those big teeth keep it from swimming back out. And their pectoral fins are very short and round and kind of foot-like this guy here. Sometimes you don't need to make up imaginary creatures. Nature is weird enough. Or, you know, you can certainly just take inspiration from real creatures. Certainly did that with these guys. With the exception of the new manifestation, which is, you know, this wave monster. Which, if you've ever seen some big waves, sometimes you wonder. The eels, the turtles, the sharks, they're all, you know, monstrous looking and sort of given this fantastical sort of spice to them. But eels obviously really exist. Turtles really exist. Sharks, of course. And the shark is pretty darn close to a great white in appearance. Well, I mean, some of that depends on how you paint it. But the jaw structure and the teeth. And the turtle is so close, I'll be honest, it took me a minute to realize it's got 6 fins. And some folks have done some amazing paint jobs with the turtle. Some have gone very fantastical with it, and some folks have gone for some very realistic. Like you can, if you know what you're looking at, you can actually tell like which real life species they modeled it after. And they're just absolutely gorgeous. Most of the time when I'm painting, I'm just happy if I manage to stay in the lines. I'm working on it. I'm getting better. You'll get to see, hopefully, some of my painting. I always remind myself that nobody, well, maybe some people have, I do think some people have more natural talent. Some folks are just artistically gifted. But the only way to get better at something is to be bad at it first. And to be willing to keep putting in that effort. And the thing about painting minis is if you don't like the way it came out, you can always dunk it in some paint remover and start over. You're not going to ruin it. There's a few different cleaners out there that are great at taking paint off entirely. Simple Green is one. LA is Totally Awesome is another. So if you look at a mini and you're like, ugh, why did I do that? Throw it in a jar, put some solution, let it sit. Try again. I have definitely done this. Although there are definitely some schools of thought. Some folks say never repaint your first mini, so you can see how far you've come. I think there's some wisdom in that. Is this a lobster? This definitely looks like a lobster. Okay, yes, this is some sort of lobster or crayfish or some sort of arthropod. You are not a fish. I need to clean up a little bit more of that nubbin so you actually sit flush, because you're not sitting flush right now. Did I take off too much? I might have taken off too much. Yeah, I can't tell if I took off too much. Now there's a gap. I still haven't quite taken off enough, and it's not sitting flush. Well, if I've already taken off too much, then we're already a mess. Oh, nope, there we go. Okay, there's one spot there where I took off a little bit too much, but that's okay. We can fix that later with a little sprue goo. So if you're totally new to mini painting, I've said sprue goo a few times now, or mini assembling. Sprue goo is if you take leftover bits of sprue and mix it with the glue. Again, this is not with super glue. This will only work with the plastic glue. It doesn't have to be the Tamiya, but it does need to be one of this style of glue, the actual like plastic cement. The way plastic cement works is that it actually melts the glue, and then when it evaporates, it resolidifies. If you mix a small amount of sprue in with a small amount of glue, it just basically becomes liquid plastic. So you can use that to fill in gaps, sort of like we have this small gap now on the lobster's head. Sometimes if it's a very, very small gap, you can just use, and we'll try this now, an extra just a bit of glue, and then squeeze it a bit. And as that plastic melts in between, it'll sort of fill itself in. It's doing it a bit. So if you have a bottle of this that's running low, get yourself another bottle, and then put some sprue bits, a little at a time, into the old bottle. Until you get the right consistency of melted plastic to fill in the mistakes. And sometimes it's not even a mistake on your part. Sometimes it's just the way things are shaped. They don't always sit right. And sometimes we scrape away too much bit or accidentally cut off something that we shouldn't have cut off. It happens. All right, I'm going to let that dry. All right, now let's see here. Now these guys with the plinth go on. Let's see. Okay. So this is not laying flat on the ground at all. This is laying at quite the angle on the base. I'm wondering if it makes more sense to glue this onto the base first and then glue this onto her. Oh, this is your tail. Okay. Oh, and there's definitely some, there's a nubbin on your tail that I missed there. good chunk of sprue on there that I missed. There we go. I saw that before I primed you. I hate when that happens, when I think I've gotten everything and then priming it makes a missed sprue chunk just show up clear as day. Okay. Okay, so now your tail is up here. Let me find the right angle for your tail. Looks like it should. There we go. All right, that wasn't bad at all. Okay. That I'm going to hold for a minute because there's a lot of, proportionally speaking, a lot of weight from her. Balancing on that. And once both sides are on, I think it'll be fine, but until it actually all sets. Okay. Did I miss? All right, I'm gonna have to get that in a minute. I need to wait for that to set. Okay, now we're getting somewhere because that's gonna sit like that and hold her up that way. Very nice. Nope, you go back to holding that. That's starting to give. Push that back together. I wish you weren't so spiny though. It's pressing into my hands. The spiny looks cool. Doesn't feel great while you're trying to hold things together. Okay, I think I can safely set that down. Scrape that little bit there. Okay. And now, okay, you attach down here. How? here, curving around this way. Oh, right on top like that. That's going to be a pain to paint. You're right on top. All right, well, that's what it is. Sit correctly on your tail. Thank you. Let me just turn it this way, make sure that I'm There we go. Hold that for a moment. And I don't know if you could see when I pulled those apart how it was kind of looked like a cheese pull. The strings of plastic. Kind of melting together like that. Now this little tab here, I'm not going to put it on yet because I don't want to put weight on that. I don't want to put weight on that tail while it's still setting, but let's see. Oh, I know where that fits. That's what fits directly onto that staff. There's that space there. There's that notch right there on her staff. Where that's gonna sit. All right. Last piece. And then those guys are going to sit oh geez. That came out way more. Get off my finger. Thank you. That needs to stay down there. And there she goes. And aside from that headpiece being a royal pain, that was not too bad at all. Sometimes with these elven pieces I've had trouble with like the arm sockets and that sort of thing. Yeah. Guys, thanks for joining me today. Eventually we'll have another video up where we paint her. Haven't decided on a paint scheme for her yet, but we'll get there. Y'all have a great night.